takes a better road. In fact, she takes some initiative. She offers to go and find food. In Ruth's day, widows and foreigners and the poor were legally allowed to glean the leftovers of a crop, according to Israelite law. Ruth was a poor foreign widow, so she certainly qualified. Since it was barley harvesting season, this meant that Ruth could go out into a field and pick up the barley that the workers left behind or dropped as they plowed. She does this with Naomi's permission in the field of Naomi's relative, Boaz. Upon returning from the field where Boaz had been kind to her, Ruth tells Naomi about her day and her success. And before you know it, Naomi has concocted a really risky plan in which Ruth is to go get in bed beside Boaz and more or less convince him to marry her, thus rescuing both Ruth and Naomi from their widowed state. Now, Israelite law stated that if a man died without children, his brother should marry the dead man's wife. The first child of that union would inherit the dead man's name and property. In effect, the child would be the dead man's child. Scholars suggest that by Ruth's time, it was acceptable for any close relative to fulfill that role, so Boaz would have been in the running. So this plan isn't quite as crazy as it might sound to us, but it's still fairly nuts. And if it didn't go well, Ruth was still going to be in really bad shape. It was within Boaz's right to refuse her and to expose her. We know from the narrative that Ruth's loyalty to Naomi, no matter what it was founded upon, has by now earned her a good reputation in Bethlehem. Getting into bed with a man she isn't married to publicly has the potential to reverse that. The book of Ruth calls it Hesed. It's a Hebrew word for love and kindness that's above and beyond what is required. It's the kind of love God demonstrates for us. In this story, it's also the kind of love that Ruth demonstrates for Naomi. Ruth, without hesitation, makes the decision to take the risk and to ask Boaz to redeem herself and her mother-in-law. I'm not condoning the way she did it, though it may have been the best option she had, but I'm certainly condoning why she did it. She is acting out of the love she has learned for this bitter, angry woman who is her mother-in-law. Fortunately, Boaz is a faithful man, and he does not take advantage of Ruth. Rather, he acts quickly on her behalf and Naomi's. And so less than a chapter later, we find ourselves in this text, which is Ruth 4:13 through 17. So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife. When they came together, the Lord made her conceive, and she bore a son. Then the women said to Naomi, "Blessed be the Lord, who has not left you this day without a next of kin, and made his name be renowned in Israel. He shall be to you a restorer of life and a nourisher of your old age. For your daughter-in-law, who loves you, who is more to you than 7 sons, has borne him." Then Naomi took the child and laid him in her bosom and became his nurse. The women of the neighborhood gave him a name, saying, "A son has been born to Naomi." They named him Obed, and he became the father of Jesse, the father of David. Ruth chose love. She chose Hesed. However she got there, she went above and beyond what she had to do for her mother-in-law. And her actions lead to restoration. Naomi is restored physically. She will now have enough to eat and a secure roof over her head in her daughter-in-law's home with Boaz. But she is also restored spiritually. This woman who was bitter and angry has been redeemed. She has cause again to praise and to bless the Lord because Ruth has faithfully loved her. Likewise, Ruth is blessed. Ruth, for whom it was better to go into a foreign land with an angry woman than to go home to her family, has been redeemed for her love, through her love to that woman. She may be a foreigner, but she is the great-grandmother of the king. Her love for her mother-in-law has shaped the world for the better.